What if the most powerful military on Russia's western border wasn't made of soldiers at all, but of machines? What if the country that Vladimir Putin expected to crush in 72 hours is now the country that is winning a slow, grinding technological war against him? That is exactly what is happening today. And the evidence is no longer a matter of speculation. It is sitting in Russia's budget figures, in the Kremlin's own internal panic, and on the Ukrainian front lines where robots are literally accepting the surrender of Russian troops. Let me take you through exactly how we got here, and why Putin is now stuck in a situation he cannot win, no matter which direction he turns. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, the Kremlin's military planners expected the campaign to last days, not years. Ukraine was supposed to fold. Instead, it has now been over 4 years, and Russia has not achieved a single decisive breakthrough. Let me be clear about the scale of that failure. Despite throwing an enormous conventional military force across the border, despite using artillery, missiles, and aerial bombardment on a daily basis, Russia has been unable to seize more than a fraction of additional Ukrainian territory in recent years. According to Western military analysts, throughout all of 2025, Russia's forces, with all their numerical superiority, secured less than 1% of additional Ukrainian territory. By early 2026, monthly Russian military losses were being estimated by Western officials to be exceeding Moscow's capacity to replenish its forces. Let that sink in. Russia is losing men faster than it can replace them, and the country's own leadership knows it. Now here is where the story gets remarkable. Ukraine, facing the same manpower crisis as Russia, but with far fewer human resources to draw from, made a decision that has fundamentally altered the battlefield. Rather than simply recruiting more soldiers, Kyiv invested heavily in drone warfare and ground robotics, and the results are nothing short of extraordinary. In January of this year, footage surfaced showing Russian soldiers, dressed in snow camouflage, hands raised, surrendering not to a Ukrainian soldier, but to a Ukrainian ground robot armed with a machine gun. The robot, controlled remotely by a pilot miles away from the front, captured the position without a single Ukrainian soldier entering the kill zone. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has stated that drones and robots conducted more than 22,000 missions in just the past 3 months alone. As he put it, lives were saved over 22,000 times because a robot went into the most dangerous areas instead of a soldier. Mykola Zinkevich, the Ukrainian unit commander, who led that first-ever robotic prisoner capture, explained the strategic logic clearly. Ukraine will never have more soldiers than Russia, so the only path to survival and victory runs through technology. Ukraine's current goal is to replace 1/3 of its frontline infantry with drones and robotic systems this year alone. Beyond ground robots, Ukraine has dramatically escalated its use of mid-range drone strikes. Since January 2026, Ukrainian drones have been systematically hitting Russian logistics nodes, supply routes, command posts, and rear area units at depths of 120 to 150 kilometers behind the front line. Russian military bloggers, those who are normally pro-war cheerleaders, have begun warning that Ukraine's newer drone systems are creating serious logistical paralysis, operating day and night, resisting electronic warfare countermeasures, and striking with little warning. While the battlefield picture is already troubling for Moscow, the economic front is arguably even more dangerous for Putin's long-term position. Let me walk you through the numbers, because they tell a damning story. Russia's GDP shrank by 0.3% in the first quarter of 2026, the first contraction since early 2023. Putin himself, visibly irritated in a televised meeting with senior officials, admitted that the economy had contracted by 1.8% in the first 2 months of 2026 and demanded to know how to reverse this decline. Russia's sovereign wealth fund, which had around $148 billion in liquid reserves before the war, has now burned through approximately 76% of those reserves. The fund that was supposed to be Russia's financial cushion is nearly empty. To keep the war machine running, the Kremlin has been forced to raise taxes. Russia's VAT rate jumped from 20% to 22% at the start of this year. And the government has openly admitted this increase is specifically to fund defense expenses. Meanwhile, Russia's largest oil company, Rosneft, reported a 70% drop in profits in 2025. The oil price discount that Russia must accept on its Urals crude has widened to $29 per barrel below the global benchmark. On top of all this, the European Union passed its 20th round of sanctions in April 2026, targeting Russia's energy sector, its military-industrial complex, trade, and financial services. The EU also committed a €90 billion loan package for Ukraine in the same session. The squeeze is tightening from every direction. Russia's central bank governor has warned of a severe labor shortage, with unemployment at just 2%, meaning there are not enough workers for both the war economy and civilian industries simultaneously. Russia's workforce has been hollowed out by mobilization, emigration, and demographic decline. The unwinnable dilemma. This is the core of Putin's crisis. He finds himself trapped between two impossible choices. If he continues the war at the current pace, Russia's economy slides deeper into stagnation. The military continues to suffer unsustainable losses, and Ukraine's technological advantage grows month by month. Russia's elite, who have access to real economic data, is reportedly growing frustrated enough that Putin felt compelled to hint, through state media, that the war may be coming to a close. That is not the language of a confident leader. But if he seeks a ceasefire or peace agreement, he risks being perceived as having failed, which, for a man who has built his entire political identity around strength and national power, could be domestically fatal. He has publicly stated he will not sign a peace deal with President Zelensky, and he continues to insist that Russian forces will eventually prevail. Yet the battlefield data does not support that confidence. The pattern is clear. Russia has the bodies, but it is running out of replacements. Russia has the territory ambitions, but not the operational ability to achieve them. And Ukraine has fewer soldiers, but more machines, more ingenuity, and increasingly more international support. What Ukraine has demonstrated to the world is something that military strategists will study for decades. A smaller, less resourced nation, facing an adversary with vastly superior numbers, has used technology, adaptability, and international partnerships to neutralize those advantages, and is now inflicting costs that the larger power cannot indefinitely sustain. The lesson is not that Russia is about to collapse tomorrow. It is not. Russia's war economy is bruised, strained, and bleeding resources, but it is still functional. The lesson is that momentum has shifted, and Putin's original theory of victory, outlasting Ukraine and its Western backers through sheer attrition, is failing in real time. The next few months will be critical. Will Putin escalate, double down, and gamble on a breakthrough? Or will internal economic pressure and elite frustration force a change in course? One thing is certain. The longer this continues, the deeper Russia's structural damage becomes, and the harder it will be to reverse. What do you think? Can Putin find a way out of this trap, or has Ukraine's technological revolution permanently changed the equation? Let me know your thoughts, because this is exactly the kind of question that defines the future of modern warfare.